basically, we're on Lam Zayin and Aleph. We just finished. We just answered the question: why did you choose Ayo's version of Rabbi Yehuda as opposed to the Mishnah's version of Rabbi Yehuda? And the Gemara answered because I've got a different brisa that seems to show me that Rabbi Yehuda does not buy into Brera, because Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon all answer this kind of maneuver that you made when you bought the wine from the Kusi and you left everything for the end, and that relied on Brera. Rav Meir said you can pull that off, and then but the three of them, the triumvirate of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, say you can't do it Eisrin. So that proves that it does not work. So I think we're up to the bottom Rashis. We did the Gemara, so now we have to do the Rashis, right? So 2 lines from the bottom. Lo salkedaita chlafuke lahi da'ayo. You can't argue, right? You can't argue that you want to negate ayo and you want to embrace the Mishnah. That version of Yehuda, that will not work. Why? Because it says in the Brisa, okay, before they were geyser, that their wines are unacceptable on a general level. Okay, v'stam kusim lo mufarashi truma, and the typical kusi did not separate truma. Ve'ein lozeh kelim la'afresh shetocha truma samais. And this Jew buying it from the kusi did not have the kelim available at the time to separate all these things off into separate areas. So he needed to rely on brera to get to the bottom of the barrel, and that would then allow him to drink everything till that point. And then when you get to the bottom, you'll leave off the trumas and the meiser, and everything is good. And the Meiser Sheni you already took off and you redeemed that on your coin, so that was good anyway. So the Meiser Sheni is not a problem. So you got the Truma and the Meiser that have to be ultimately given at a later point. So Eimer, he says, top of the page in Rashi, Shnei Lugin Shaniyos Lafresh Truma Minameya Hareim Betocho, they are in there, the 2 out of the 100, okay, the 2 Lugin. Umeichel Meiser Sheni Shiyochel Saken Miyad. The Meiser Sheni I can rectify right away. Bloya fresh without having to actually separate it. Lachash Shekarlov Shem. Once I designate a name that I have 10% of the remaining amount is Meiser Sheni in this barrel, and I want that 10% in this barrel to be transferred onto my coin that I have in my bedroom. Okay, Yechalim B'chol Mokum Shu Alamos. Okay, I have money in my room over there, and that's where it should be transferred onto, and it works. So that is rectified immediately. Vishosim miyad, and l'chaim, you can start drinking. You can be part of the Kiddush Club, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning. The alcohol is flowing already. Okay, ulachazman yafresh truma, and after some time, when you finally get to the availability, you separate the truma v'mais v'aminon. And even though you couldn't see it, you couldn't separate it, but you say retroactively what you designate as truma at a later point should retroactively have been that truma from the very get-go. And that's, again, it's magical. It's brera. It's retroactive clarification. It's not what you would call a typically logical concept. Okay, so even though Rav Meir says all this is good to go, comes along these 3 Taram and say, Osrin, kasakadaita chasha, the tamayu mishum de kasavra ein brera. The logic is that we hold ein brera. And therefore, how could you Rabbi Yehuda be given the position and attribute the position of yesh brera to Rabbi Yehuda when you see it doesn't work? That it's ein brera. They hold ein brera. So that's that. Okay, so you want to know why I can't pick the Mishnah over the Brisa? Because I have another Brisa that supports Ayo's statement. Ula Omar Lessa La'ayo. Ula disagrees, and he says back to the Gemara, 4 lines from the top. Ula Omar Lessa La'ayo. Ula says I don't buy into Ayo. Based on the Mishnah, I go with the Mishnah and I take the Mishnah over Ayo. What do you do with the Brisa that says that Rabbi Yehuda is a non-braver person? So all you got to do is take out the razor blade and do some editing. With editing, you can take care of a lot of issues. Ula zuze ketani. Ula does not learn the brisa the way you had it down. He learns it as pairs. It's 2 against 2. It's not 3 against 1. It's a tag team match of 2 against 2. Zuze Ketani. Divrei Rav Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yosi. I'm sorry. Zuze Ketani. Divrei Rav Meir Rabbi Yehuda. Kama. Okay, these are the words of Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Shimon Oisrin, and it's Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Shimon who say it's Aser. So in Mela, it's all good. But if you learn this way, you don't have any problem. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda is indeed a braver man. Ayo is not accepted. We don't have to change the Mishnah. The Mishnah and the Bryce are completely aligned, and everybody's good to go. Okay, let's do the Rashi. Zuze zuge. So zuze here means pairs. Zuge, a zug is a pair. Okay, so that's the only Rashi we have, and we are now ready to proceed. Okay, so we're done. We're done with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, this is Machlokes, Ayo, and Ula, and fine. What about Rabbi Yosi now? So now once we quoted the Brisa, once you let the cat out of the bag, you never know what's the next issue. Okay, and sure enough, and now we're going to start tackling Rabbi Yosi. So Rabbi Yosi ein breira. Does Rabbi Yosi really say, based on this Brisa that you quoted, this 2 against 2 position or 3 against 1, doesn't matter. Rabbi Yosi, either way, however you read the Brisa, Rabbi Yosi definitely is on the ein breira side of things. So Rabbi Yosi ein breira. Does Rabbi Yosi really hold that we don't hold of the breira concept? So I'll seem to show you fakert. What on? It says the Mishnah. It is Mishnah in Kinin, okay, right there in the beginning, Perek Aleph of Kinin, the Sechta we don't do very often, at least most of us. I'm sure there are, actually I know somebody, a good friend, actually wrote a sefer on that Masechta, okay, and the nest of the birds that are brought for Karbonis, okay? So what happened there? Vatan Rabbi Yosi says as follows: Masechet Kinin, Shtei Noshim Shalachu Eskinayim Be'irav. 2 women who brought their 2 nests together as partners. Oshnasa Demekinayim L'Koyin. Okay, and or they gave them money for the nest to the Koyin, as they used to have these special receptacles in the base of Migdash to buy the kabbanas with the money that you would give, and then you, as a yoledes or a zava, you needed to bring these 2 birds, right, in order to have your full purity and your full kapara after the process. So these 2 birds were critical. One was an oilam, one was a chatas. So you brought these 2 birds, but you didn't at this point designate them. So two women who brought the 2 nests together, each nest having 2 birds. Okay, or you gave the money to the kayin to get these birds for you, to designate them. Whatever he would want is what he can designate. Kayin Yaakov Oila. Okay, looks like no. Eza Shirtza Kayin Yaakov Oila. That's the way it seems like you have to read it. Okay, so whichever the kayin wants. Right, so you gave either the money or you gave the nest to the kohen without the official designation. You didn't say this bird is the oila for me and this bird's the chatas for me. They didn't say that. They just gave it all in one big group. Whichever one the kohen wants, he can take as an ola for whichever lady, and whichever one he wants for the chatas, he can take. That seems to require breira. Because you have to go back in time and retroactively say that this was what she meant based on the Kohen designation at a later point. So again, l'chayra working with the idea that a later clarification will retroactively go back to that point in time early and say this is what was really designated, just like the Meiser, just like the Trumas Meiser and the thing, and just like over here with the Eruv. You got to go back in time and say that's what really was designated based on a later occurrence. So, l'chayra, we have a raya that if Rabbi Yosi said this, he is a breira man. So how can you tell me he's ein breira based on the brisa of the kusi? You see over here that he's yesh breira. Let's do Rashi. Be'erev b'shutfis. So they bought these two nests b'shutfis, and le'ezim and akidim shirtza beiza shirtza, right? Whichever one of these birds and any one of these nests that he wants to designate and use, he could. He has complete carte blanche to koyin. Beiza predos yakriv ol.
The nests aren't really used for anything. I mean, the nests hold the birds.
Yeah, they just hold the birds, right? Yeah, that's just right. Based on what I know, correct. Leizim and akinim shirtza. Okay, yeah, whichever one he wants. Beiza predos yakriv olos u'shtei noshim. Okay, he can take two of these birds and offer them both as olos for these two ladies. Veskana echad yakriv shein chatos u'shtei noshim. Okay, and the other nest, he can take the two birds and offer two chatases for the two ladies. And certainly he would have the option of taking one nest and making one nest a chatas and an ola for lady one. Okay, the sharper dummy. Okay, and certainly that would be good. But bottom line is, it's total freedom for the kohen. He can do whatever he wants. Alma, what do we see from this fact that he can do whatever he wants? Alma, since we're allowing these women to buy their nests as a partnership, not designating what bird is for which person and for which particular carbon, we can infer that there is retroactive clarification. Because we say Huvra Dover, Shazua Preda Shehikriv Lishma Shalzu Shalahi, okay, that this particular bird that he is offering for her, for her namesake, for this particular woman, it'll belong to her. The shame bailam bino, because one thing for sure, you can't go in and have the kohen offer it with no thought process whatsoever. You need to designate who this particular carbon is for, so he can determine that at the time when he's about to sacrifice it, even though it was never determined earlier. The shame bailam binon, the aim brera, because if there is no retroactive clarification, iklam chatas viola shikrav law lo shalahayu. You can say that it wasn't hers, elish shel chavarta. It was rather her friends. Her carbon hikriv b'shina bailam, and that would be devastating because that would be called offering a carbon with shina bailam. You change the names of the carbon, okay? Because maybe nest A was for Rachel and nest B was for Leah, and now you, the kohen, reversed it. Right, the carbon hikriv b'shinu b'aylam kaimon b'sachim u'b'zachim deina oil b'aylam. Doesn't work. Because you mechatas sholishman, certainly that even by an ola doesn't work. Certainly by a chatas it would be devastating. O sholoshem ba'ala gamri mifsal. It's completely nullified. An ola doesn't, it gets offered, but it doesn't do anything. But by a chatas, it's completely puzzle. And generally, the designation of the carbon is not a kohen function. Normally, that's a owner function, and they didn't do it. So I'm sort of doing it for you retroactively. So how does that work? Must be it works through Breira. And Rabbi Yossi says it's okay. Must be Rabbi Yossi. He's a Breira man. To which Gemara comes back and says, nice try. It's a fantastic question. Except you're missing the facts of the case. You don't have all the facts down of that case. It's not the way it happened. You think it happened that way. It's not. You're missing one point, a very critical point.
So if the Kohen can't do it, so what the women are saying then, they make a deal with each other that whichever one the Kohen picks is the one that belongs to you.
Right, without saying it. In other words, even without making that stipulation, that seems
that's their thought process.
Right, that's the de facto thought process, and if it's allowed to work,
and that's the breira. Not what the Kohen. Not that the Kohen decides. That's not the breira.
Well,
sorry, it's not which bird the Kohen decides belongs to whom. It's the fact that the bird got taken, and so whichever bird gets taken, then that will belong to either me or you. Because it has to be the Baalim have that designated, right?
Right. So
they have to be thinking something along those lines.
So the Kohen's decision later goes back and determines what indeed they were thinking.
Okay, fine.
Right. So the Gemara comes back and says, "Nice try." Okay. It does seem if you read the Mishnah on the surface that Rabbi Yossi does not hold. Rabbi Yossi does hold of Breira. However, the case is Kshehisnu. Okay. Amarabba, 3 lines from the bottom. Hasam kshehisnu. Okay. The case is you made a stipulation. Really? You made a stipulation? Now the woman stated out point blank. Yachim ma'ila memra. If they stipulated that it's all up to the kohen and they made it clear that he's going to designate and whatever it is what I'm doing right now. That's not prayer. That's happening right now. I'm stating it as I bring the kohen, the nest into the base of Migdash. That is the way it's going to go down. You can do that. That's not prayer. That's called a precondition. That's fine. What's a chiddush?
How's that not brera? We still don't know which one it is.
Well, I'm saying that the one that the kohen will pick is the one that I want for the chatas. So you're saying that before the fact that I'm pre-designating it based on a future event. That's fine. Because if you say that the first person that comes out of that door, I'm going to give him $1,000. Is that brera? Then he comes out of the door. Now I don't know who that person was, but the first person. That's not brera. Doesn't mean huvar dover that I meant him. No, I'm saying it's going to be him, whoever that is. I just don't know. I'm lacking idea. But when he comes out, I'm going to give him $1,000 because I already pre-stated that. That wouldn't need brera. That would not need brera.
But I still don't know which bird it's going to be. I mean,
you do. It's a bird that the kohen will say will be the chatas. That's the bird that's going to be. Just like I don't know which man's going to walk out the door, but whoever that man is, that's who it's going to be, and that's who I said right now should be the recipient of my gift. Let's just finish the Gemara, and then we'll do the Rashis. No one said this is easy. It's Eruvin. We can't forget that.
This is Kenyan, actually.
Oh, okay. So if that's the case, what's a chiddush? We're still in the Gemara now for a minute. Kamash Malon. The chiddush is Rav Chizda. Okay, the chiddush is that we follow Rav Chizda and that we hold the Rav Chizda, because Rav Chizda has a chiddush about these karbanis that is at play here. Okay, the Yom Rav Chizda. Let's just finish up. We can say we did the Yom today. The Yom Rav Chizda, Ein Hakinim Misparshos. The nests do not become clarified and determined as to what the carbon is. When you're talking about these two birds, they cannot become designated and clarified. Ella ibl kichas bailim, either at the moment when the bailim bought it and designated it and acquired these kinim, either that's the point when it has to happen, ibas yes koyin, or at the time that the koyin offers them up. That's when you're able to do it. There's no point in between that Rav Chizda would allow you to do it. So the chiddush is that those are the 2 points, and that it's valid to determine that at those 2 points, and therefore the kohen could indeed do it as well. If you leave it blank, the kohen has the ability to designate it, and that's considered valid designation without brera. Now that's the question. If anyone wants to know why is that not brera? So hopefully, let's finish the Rashis, and hopefully it'll all become clear to everyone. Let's see it. Kishehisnu, right? It's the first wide line of Rashi. So the case is, says the Gemara, Rabbah says, hello, this has nothing to do with brera. This has to do with the precondition. The women designated and conditioned, the precondition amongst themselves. They said, whatever the kohen does for me will be good. Right, like what do I announce by Tchiyah Shofar? Okay, when I remember that the people should have in mind whatever the Baal Tekeah blows should be what you want to be hearing. Because sometimes the Baal Tekeah goes back, and you're thinking you're up to Shram Trua. He's blowing a Tekiah, so you want your das to be whatever he's thinking is what you're thinking. So you're basically hooking your das into the kohen, and the Baal Tekeah, or in this case, you're hooking your das into the kohen. What the kohen will decide is what I'm saying right now is what I want, and that is good, and that is not brera. Ihachi ma'ila kivna b'das kohen totally. You made it dependent on the das. Right? It's not in the Havamin we thought you didn't say anything, and we are able to say that the kohen's ultimate later designation goes back and says what you really thought. I didn't say that. That's what you call retroactive clarification. It's not retroactive clarification. You're clarifying that right now that what you want is what the Kohen's going to do. You just don't know what the Kohen's going to do. Whatever he's going to do is what I want right now, and that's happening right now. So much the Gemara asks that's not Breira because of the clarification earlier as opposed to later. So what's a Chiddush? Right? Since you're making it dependent clearly earlier on the das of the Kohen, what's a Chiddush? The Chiddush is Kamash one Kedr of Chizda. Sha'afa Pishia Kol Kan V'Kam V'Fnei Atzmo. Since each nest was by itself, El Shlochem B'Yachad, but they were bought together, right? So the two ladies walked into Petco, okay, and they saw these two nests, beautifully situated right next to each other, and they said, "That's it. We love those four birds. We're getting those two nests." So if you look at those two, that acquisition, what you would have said on the surface is viola. So you would have said if each woman is buying one nest, that means woman A is buying the nest for a ola and a chatas, and woman B is buying a nest for an ola chatas. Two birds, okay, for one lady, each one requiring two karbanis. So you would have logically jumped to that conclusion that each nest represents one lady's full requirement, namely a chatas and an ola. You would have said there's no way you're allowed to take nest A and make two olos from them for each of these two ladies, and then take nest B and make two chatas for them. You'd say completely illegitimate, completely unacceptable. Okay, because that's not why they gave the money. They clearly gave the money, each one saying, I'll take one nest, or at least the assumption is, I'll take one nest, you take the other nest. Okay, so you'd say the Kohen must sacrifice from this nest a chatas and an ola, and from nest B a chatas and an ola. But we're saying no. The Rav Chizda Chiddush is saying Kamash Malan. The Gemara is teaching us Ki vandaloi akveinu behedya b'shasa kicha. Since you did not say that explicitly at the time of the acquisition, lemor to say pray dezu chatas, pray dezu oila. You didn't say that. You just said I want the two nests. You paid the guy the money. You brought the two nests into the Beis Hamikdash. You gave it to the Kohen, and that's it. That's all you said. Nothing else happened. So we're not going to start reading minds here. So we don't do that, says Rav Chizda. Since you did not clearly designate them as the specific carbon, afilu kavim la'achal, even if you did try to designate it when you dropped the nest off at the Kohen and say, I'll take the purple, coloring, whatever straw, and then I'll take the red one. No. And therefore, you'd say each nest belongs to the designated woman. It doesn't work that way. That's Rav Chiz's Chiddush. If you don't do it at the time that you bought it, you're done. You can't designate anymore. Then it's up to the Kohen. The Kohen has total control of the situation, and he has the right to then fly in here and say the way it's going to go down.
Right, but after you buy it, the two ladies buy it, they can't decide, this nest will be mine and this nest will be yours, and then bring that to the
Yeah, you could do that. You can do that, but then all you're doing with that separation is saying both birds are going to come from. This is my nest. Now they divide monetarily. I think you can do it, but to designate the kohen, which one's a chatas, which one's an ola, that you can't do. You lost your opportunity for designation. So you want to bring one nest and you want to bring two birds, and say it's interesting. Can you at least say these birds are my birds, right, as opposed to you could. I think you could. I'm not expert in Keenan, but I think
you have to designate at the time of purchase which one's the ola and which one's the chatas.
If you want to. In other words, if you want it to be your domain of which bird, you better do that at the time of the acquisition. Right. Otherwise, it's too late.
Is that just in this case, or is that for all
korbanos? I think that's in this case. I think there's a special ach of Keenan, the way it all went down with the, with the money, with the chauffeur receiving the money. I think Keenan works uniquely. I don't think it's a universal concept. No. Again, because they have so many, and it was a whole different kind of structure, these birds, the way they did it. Eina kinin shall last Rashi on the page. This is Rav Chiz's chiddush. Eina kinim shall kol mechusrei kapar misparshos eiz olav ve'eiz chatas. Any bird for any of the women or the people who require kapara, who have to bring these birds, right? It's a number of different cases of these bird karbanis. Okay, and we're not going to say this Gemara is for the birds. Chas v'shalom, we're not going to go down that road. So any time that you have these birds carbon, you have no ability to designate it except for 2 times, except for actually 1 time. Let's see, Ella. So when can you designate Ella? As we turn the page and continue Rashi, Ella I b'lekichas bailim. Either at the time that you buy it, you can designate at that point that this one I'm buying for a chatas, this one I'm buying for an ola, right? I mean, and let's say you own it the whole time, and now you just want to designate it. I know, then you can't. It seems like you can't at that point. I know, it's interesting. That's to be dafka at the time of, is it acquisition, or maybe just maybe the time you're taking it, so that you're bring it for a carbon. I'm not sure about that. Does it have to be like an exchange where you're actually buying it, or just when you're designated? Okay, whatever. Or obas yes kayin. Okay, or at the time that the kayin is taking it and offering it, he becomes the man to determine it. But if you just bought them stam, shame, and then you decided like any other carbon to, as you're walking with 2 LCs, you want to decide which LC is your chatas or which LC is some other carbon, that's perfectly fine, but not with kinim. You can't do that with kinim. He says, ein Hashem chaleim. The shame does not work. The name does not fall onto that bird. The kohen can change it around. V'kara. And this is all learned out from Sukkim that Rav Chizda darshins in Seder Yuma. Okay, we're getting there soon enough, Bez Hashem. These are 2 psukim that Rav Chiz is trying to reconcile, and he says, Alma, we see either v'lokcha shtei tayrim, it's the time of lakicha. I don't think lakicha has to be dafki, you have to buy it. I mean, if you've been owning these birds for a long time, you have these nests with these birds, and now you're just taking it for and saying, okay, this nest is my carbon nest. I imagine it's the same thing. Imagine. Alma, ein shem oila v'chatas chalaim ela b'lekicha basiyah. You got 2 points in time, either when you take it or when you do it. But you can no longer direct that carbon. And that's the chiddush, that as long as you made it clear. So, I mean, why do you need the hisna for altogether? I mean, it's... Can
the husband bring the korban for the wife?
Yeah.
Or the wife has to bring this korban?
Well, I mean, can she make to deliver it, you mean? Can she, I imagine she can make a shliach.
The husband's going to Yerushalayim anyway. So, the wife says, here, I'm supposed to, I had a baby, I'm supposed to bring this korban, these 2 doves, can you take these for me?
I imagine that would work, yes. I think so.
Does she need to designate it when she gives it to him, or can he designate it? Or at that point it's all up to the Kohen?
Well, listen, right now let's just take the Gemara at face value. You have one opportunity. When you take these birds, okay, for the purposes of bringing it for a carbon, that's when you have to do it. You can't do it later. Then it's up to the Kohen. I just don't know why you need, based on Rav Chiz's chiddush, I'm not sure what, if the chiddush that the woman can't designate it in midstream, so let that be the chiddush. What do you have to have this the pre-designation? The Gemara answers that it's kishehisna. Okay, that you made the condition that whatever the kohen decides, doesn't sound like you really need to say it up front. It sounds like it's de facto having been said, because Rav Chiz's chiddush is you lost your opportunity. You didn't designate at the time. You do it later. In terms of maybe you can, even with 2 women, I mean, even when you're giving 4 to them, that also works. That's I don't know.
Now you got 2 problems with the 2 women, because you got which bird is for what and which bird is for which woman.
Well, okay, right, okay, but in other words, Rav Chiz's chiddush seems to take care of all the issues. Rav Chiz's chiddush is
the Kohen decides.
The Kohen decides. That's right. So I'm not sure why you need that predesignation. What's the step in the Gemara shehisne that they said that what the Kohen will do will be fine for me. What do you have to say that for? As long as you didn't designate as a Chatas and Ola earlier, then by de facto becomes the Kohen's. Okay. So Tosas asks on Rashi. I don't know if Ephraim peaked and cheated there, but Tosas seems to ask Ephraim's question that the Hainu Breira Gemura Shetol B'Dasa Kohen Shoyse Shasi Zbar Shehu Shalah. Okay, what?
No, I didn't cheat this time.
Okay, fine. We'll believe you. Okay, so Tosas just wants to say that tonight the condition was this one is mine and this one is mine. Okay, and they're leaving it up to the Kohen to decide. Okay, fine. So this exact answer of what it meant when they said they made a precondition. I hear Rashi. I'm not sure. Whatever. I mean, Tosfos and Raj is a fascinating question and answer. Like, is this Breira, is it not Breira? Because to me, I really didn't see this Breira, and I see Rashi's Mahalach much easier. But okay, definitely there's what to appreciate on both sides. But the point is that this particular word of Hisna is somewhat disputed, and we'll leave it. But clearly the message is the Chiddush is Rav Chizda. Okay, whether you need it, the Hisna or not, exactly what the Hisna does, I'm not 100% sure. But the message is that this is not a Breira issue. It's a Rav Chizda Chiddush issue, and Memela it did not fall into the realm of Breira. So therefore we don't. So in other words, so the question that we had, right? We had a question: does Rabbi Yossi hold Ein Breira? It seems that Rabbi Yossi relies on Breira, and we knocked it out, and we said the Tanakasha because of Rav Chizda's Chiddush, and then we said the case was the Hisna that they left it up to the Kohen. It's not a problem. So right, we don't have any steer right now. Rabbi Yossi is good. Rabbi Yossi at this point is a Ein Breira man. The case of Kina does not represent Breira to us because it's a case of Hisna, and it's up to the Kohen. And right now the world is good. The world is good, but not yet. The world seems to be good, but it's not quite good. Why?
I think that it seems like the only way to interpret Kishu Hisnu is they say to each other, well, normally when two people buy these things, we decide which one goes to whom. In this case, we're not going to do that. We'll let the Kohen decide.
Okay, which is really nothing other than Rav Chizda's statement.
Right.
That if you don't decide,
right.
So, but
right.
I mean,
but the language of Hisnu is funny. It's just the one
right.
You just say they didn't decide.
Exactly, right. That's sort of what I'm asking. Okay, fine. What?
And I'm not answering.
Well, I mean, you're basically answering. They just have to read it. That the Hisnu is sort of lav davka. The Hisnu just was that they didn't decide, which is definitely
I guess actually to a certain extent it probably makes a lot of sense for the Kohen to decide, because how does the bird get to the Kohen that's going to do the actual korban? In other words, the women may not give it to that Kohen. So the bird up the line, so to speak, and then we finally get to the Kohen that's going to do the actual korban, and then he decides he's got these 2 or 4 birds in front of him, and he decides which one is what.
Right. I hear. Okay, but Maisi, right. Rashi said Rav Chizda learned it out from Sukkim, but you're saying it makes a lot of sense that the Sukkim would have it work out that way. I mean, according to Tosas, makes it a little bit better because, like you just said, in other words, it starts off together. It starts off that the two men are buying it together, and then the hisna is that we're not going to do. So we're not going to do what we typically would do. We're going to let the Kohen do it, which would have been the exact same if they just said nothing. Would have been the exact same result. Okay, fine. So. Vakati, we still have a problem though. Vakati is Rabbi Yossi Ein Breira, but I still have a secondary issue. Second line on Lamed Zayin Amid Beis. Does Rabbi Yossi really hold of Ein Breira? Is that that mission that we read about the Kusi really reflective of Rabbi Yossi's real opinion? Vatanya, we learned in a brisa. Am ha'oretz she'amar lechaver. If a am ha'oretz, which is a unlearned Jew lacking knowledge, says, and these Jews were not assumed to take trumas and meisers. That's his whole demai issue. She'omar lechaver. he says to a Talmud Chacham who's going to the market, he's going to Machne Yehuda. So the Amoritz says to his neighbor, the Talmud Chacham, do me a favor. I really don't feel like schlepping into Machne Yehuda today, so can you just pick me up some stuff? Buy me one bundle of vegetables. Okay, and or I don't know how a bundle of vegetables replaces a challah, but get me one of those two things. Either get me a nice, beautiful challah, or get me a bundle of vegetables, maybe at limited money. So the question now is, and he does it, he gets it for him, but he didn't just get that for him, clearly that was designated. He bought 2 bundles of vegetables and he bought 2 challahs. And he said, when I get back to you, I'll give you 1 bundle and 1 challah. I didn't make a mark, which one is which. So the question is, do you have to take the meiser now? Because if you're giving him from your stuff, if you really acquired it, now you give him from your stuff, you can't give Amor's untithed stuff. Because you, Choshesh...
The Chaver would have bought it already tithed.
What?
The Chaver should have bought it already tithed.
Well, what do you mean? They didn't sell it tithed. What do you mean? When Machne Yehuda, they sell it. They don't sell it tithed. They rely on you. They have a big sign. This has not been taken yet. Okay, so when you buy it...
But that was the whole point of the Chaver. He would only buy from places like that. But.
No, it's about... it happened to be a Chaver. I think he would have... If he had an Amoritz name, he probably would have asked the Amoritz to do it as well. He didn't do it because this guy decided to do tshuva and become a Talmud Chacham. He just... So the point is that what's halacha? Ein tzorch la'aser. The Rabbi Yossi says you don't have to take meiser. The Chacham tzorch la'aser. So the Chacham say you do. We'll have to see what this means on Sunday morning at 7:15.